was a time back in the 70s when I was really inspired by the guys that had the motorcycles, you know, with the long front ends was the thing back then, and you know, the guys that were like 20, 25, that had choppers that were of the 70s. You know, all the kids back then wanted to make their bicycles have the long front ends, and we'd, you know, cut forks off other bicycles and stack them all together. And if you could find a guy that could weld and actually weld them together so they wouldn't fall off in the street, they'd crash and break your neck. But, you know, that's what it would all start, was back with as a kid with bicycles and soapbox cars and go-karts. Well, when I originally came to New York, it was really for the whole art scene, because I do a lot of, you know, painting, illustration, and still doing the painting and all that. While I was still painting, was working with a bike shop called Psycho Cycles. They hired me on as a mechanic, and that's where I met Larry and Steg and Frank and a bunch of guys there, and it just kind of all went from there. So that's where it all kind of switched over fully into the bike thing. You know, you put yourself here for a reason, you know, because you just want to have everything right in front of you, and just, you know, keep kind of like feeding off of it and just like living in the middle of it. And you know, some people love it and some people hate it. It's definitely one way or the other. You know, there's no real in between. You know, the influences come from architecture, from art, from you know, all kinds of machinery, from turn-of-the-century machinery, from machinery that hasn't been created yet. It all has to be funneled down through a mechanical background and a mechanical knowledge of geometry and the way that, you know, engines work and the way that transmissions work and the way that front ends function. And then, you know, whittled down with the scalpel of practicality, I guess, you know, to create, in the end, a functional machine, a motorcycle. But the initial inspiration just comes from a broad spectrum of sources, and then to feel like you have, you know, some level of knowledge to be able to manipulate those sources and make them all work and whittle them down to the final product is something that I find very rewarding. And it's always exciting to learn more, and you know, the journey is just as rewarding as the end result. What turns me on as far as what I do and what I like to do, and whether it's the bikes or the, you know, mechanics or the leather or the fabrication or the, you know, knife making that I do a lot of, or engine building or whatever. When people ask, it ends up kind of difficult to give one answer. So you sort of, I end up all over the place when people expect you to say that you do one thing, and I just don't, you know. But I don't say that, I by no means say that I'm a real specialist or master at anything. I would never say that about myself. I prefer to just enjoy the experience of learning all the different aspects of what the world has to offer, and bring it in, you know, bring it all together into, you know, building what I build. Because I think there's so many things that come together to build in a really cool chopper. It's not just necessarily one thing. You know, I think that's an integral part of what a chopper is, and not just a custom bike, but a chopper. You know, like a real rough-hewn, sort of from the gut, you know, from the soul chopper. It's like so many elements of so many different parts of the world. That's what I enjoy, is a diversity in my background that I keep trying to add to. And yeah, that's why it sometimes ends up being a little bit difficult to say, you know, what do you do, or where do you come from, or why.
Yeah.